yet another edition of On the Table with me, Tsepi.
And Khomotso, DJ Black Velvet.
And the Ghost Lady.
Welcome, ladies, to my house.
Yo.
Prams.
Yes.
Okay.
House.
Today we're all the way here at Lola and Ben, all the way in Midrand, Warner Valley.
Yes, Warner Valley. And this is Hertford Office Park, Building I, second floor.
So
That's
this is
where
where
they
you can
find
find
it.
them and come and see, the range of prams that are here. And of course, you can also bring yourself and your baby for a massage. You know those things where they put the child in a swimming shandies?
Yeah.
And then they learn how to pedal and get their legs strong. They're here as well. They do that as well. There's mommy massages as well.
Yes, mommies to be. Even.
Mommies to be as well.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Mash is going to buy us this pram. And there's another pram that we're getting as well. Because yes, we are pregnant.
What?
Yeah. With
I'm
season
kidding.
2.
Season 2.
Yeah, season 2, guys.
We're pregnant with abundance of happiness, right, Mash?
Yes.
I haven't seen him in a hot minute. MacG has now shown your face.
Bataga sanona from when he started. But it's like a fresh. I'm gonna lose my channel.
Oh,
I see him.
I'm still waiting for an EFT. I'm going to pay women.
Ha.
Hey. Let's get into it, ladies. It's on the table.
Yes.
We put another conversation right here on the table. And today
Yes.
we're talking black tax.
Ooh.
Let's address it. Let's speak about
A
it.
few people will smile when they hear that
And
word.
a few people will hate us also on the basis that we're calling it black
Black
tax.
Tax,
Okay,
yes.
but we'll get into that once we go further on into the conversation. Let's speak about your opinions and what you think black tax is to your understanding.
Yo, my opinion on black tax is that I get to be like it's emotional blackmail. I don't know what to call it.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times you find that people that are going through it, it's not because they are enjoying the process, but there's the guilt that comes with you having a job, you being that kid at home. They're expecting you to sort of return the investment. I need to invest it in you. We took you
Okay.
to school. We did 1, 2, 3 for you. Now it's time for you to return the investment. So for me, I feel like it's emotional blackmail more than anything for me.
Ghosty?
For me, black tax, from my understanding, is obviously taking care of your family, when you're obviously in the position of you are financially able, right? So instead of, because sometimes not that you are forced to, there's that demand on you, but it's because uyasibona isimo sasekhaya. So that's sometimes the situation, and you can't pass it. You can't
Yes.
ignore it.
Yes.
You have to assist some way or another.
Remember also, you can comment and share your experiences of black tax /Ubuntu /a burden, however you might see it. It is your opinion. It is your experience. And that's exactly what On the Table is. It is our opinion. It is our experience. And that's exactly how you feel, Khomoto, which I want you to elaborate a bit further. But before that, I want to speak about what I feel black tax is to me. I've never experienced it, but I have been a product of black tax.
Oh.
Okay.
And when we speak about black tax, we also need to speak on whether it is just financial.
Yeah. Because it can be emotional.
And it's not,
Physical.
it can be emotional, can be physical, can be anything else, right? So we're not talking the financial aspect of it. Okay, maybe a little bit of financial
bit.
aspect in it. I was, in essence, raised by my sister. Once I turned 13, my mom had passed on and I went to go live with my sister.
Oh, okay.
Right? And that for me is a form of black tax. I lived in her house till I was in varsity. Well, I mean, till I was in matric. I went to varsity, lived at Res, but I'd come in and out of her house. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And she obviously had a responsibility
To
for
take
me.
care of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And has a responsibility to me, which was to take care of me, to make sure that I'm a upstanding member of society. Haki preki. There are many things that she sort of had to make sure. She was basically raising me. She was
Yeah.
parenting me.
Yeah.
So where was your dad?
My dad was still here. My dad is still home. But remember, this was now a situation where it was two men in a household and me.
Oh.
So my sister felt it would be better for me to actually have a female representative or a feminine energy around, which I appreciate that with all my heart.
Oh, okay.
I feel had she not, I would have turned out completely different.
Oh, okay.
And even in my mom's death, take it how you may take it, I see it as a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because had my mom had not passed, I would not have the opportunities
To
that
be
I have
raised,
today.
yeah.
I would not be on radio today.
Oh, wow.
I would not be in entertainment. I would have not found it as a thing to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my mind didn't span and open up that big.
Okay.
So once I was taken out of this environment, I was put into a bigger environment. Don't take me wrong. My dad was still there. My dad still did what he had to do.
Yeah.
You know, financially. During holidays, I'd go back home as well, and my dad would parent, and my dad would even go with me to both for Shein, both towards
To
to
do
go
shopping.
buy underwear for me,
Yeah.
as small as an underwear. He'd stay up if I'm experiencing period pains. But my point is, he wasn't my primary caregiver at that time. Right. So
Get it, yeah.
my sister was my primary caregiver, which she didn't have to be.
Yeah.
So I see that as a form of
Black tax.
Okay.
in inverted commas.
Wow.
All right.
Can you elaborate on the part where you had mentioned that you mentioned it as an emotional burden and as a manipulation of sort?
So I've had a couple of friends that were raised by grandparents and abomalume and every one of them in the families, ne? And unfortunately for them, they didn't have like abomama, you know, umama no baba, a well-balanced off family. They didn't have that. And the family had to contribute in saying, okay, this one looks like the smart one in the family. And let's invest in them and make sure that they get the quality education that they deserve, because at the end of the day, Magapumala, they are going to be our savior in the family.
I want to speak about that, but I don't want to disturb you. That's what I want to speak about. Yeah. And I've heard that many times, but go on, sorry.
So she or he's going to be the savior of the family. So not only are you pressured with you finishing school and getting a job, but now you have the pressure of making sure Oguti, you pass, and not just pass, you pass with flying car, you excel. Ne? On top of excelling, you are rushed. There's these things that I find with a lot of black families don't understand. Sometimes when you take a module in school, you're still finding yourself, because a lot of us, we don't take curriculum counseling, where they sit you down and they tell you, this is where your strengths are, and don't. Then you find yourself failing a module. So now you're faced with, the parents or the family had contributed so much in me going to school. Now you're faced with, because
you've been at it.
You need to get a job.
Yeah.
You need to get a job. And
that on its own is a process.
That on its
The
own
graduation
is a process.
the applications of jobs, the waiting, the being despondent, and eventually getting a job, which won't probably pay you as much as you think it will.
Yeah.
By the time you finish school, you have like this huge family that's looking up to you. It's okay. You have to pay for our groceries. You have to pay for our clothes. You have to fix the house. Not that there's anything wrong with you looking at your home situation and saying, okay, I can put in a nice window here, a door here, tiling. There's nothing wrong with that. But it becomes wrong when now you can't even fend for yourself. All you have to do, you keep pouring from an empty cup. At which point do you find yourself now taking care of you?
Yes.
You know, at which point does it happen? Because not only that, you're also suffering from peer pressure. In Tangazako, they're buying cars. They're buying houses.
Yes.
They're getting married. They're doing stuff that their money could be doing for them.
Yeah.
But now it's no longer about just you. It's about abantwana baga auntie. It's about abantwana baga malume. Because kwayenu malume sacrifice ingane zakhe for you.
For you.
Because you are the smart one in the
Yeah.
family. So for me, when it becomes emotional, salary yakho yangena, you look at your salary, you look at your taxes, like, okay, so what am I left with? What am I left with? And they don't understand. That's where the emotional part is. They don't understand, which you don't afford to be taking care of everyone.
Yeah.
And even if I do take care of everyone, sometimes Leo 1,000 randing in niga yona, can somebody have shop nyana yama veg ngaphandle so we can
At least
be able
money,
to assist
yeah.
each other.
Add
It can't
onwards.
always be, I phela wena sakufundisa, we took you to school. So
And how worse, when you go to where you hear women like saying, I'm having kids so that they can take care of me.
yes.
So that's the conversation that I want to have. I watched something, I can't remember what it is that I had watched, but what you guys may call trash TV, but I call content.
Oh, I love
Content
trash
king.
TV. Oh, I love it.
Babe, I mowed your life.
Yo,
It's where I reside. So one of the ladies had said the mother, I can't remember whether it was Upuzan.
Uyaphuza.
Upuzan. Wow. Dash.
Uyaphuza.
No, so it was one of those conversations, and she was very disappointed at her son, who she felt she was waiting on him to make the situation at home better. And I was sitting in the room with my dad, and I even said to him, that's not fair. Oh, he got so mad at me. Because I was like, I hear the part where you're saying our situation like her is not okay.
Yeah.
And I was born into this situation, and there's nothing that I can do about it.
Wow.
But for you to see it as a thing where the pressure and the onus is on me to make sure that we come out of an environment I was born into. That you were okay with, clearly. Let me not say okay, but that you didn't see the urgency in changing. So I must be the one who now must feel the pressure to make this okay. And remember, yes, we will speak about the lack of opportunities that our parents had.
Yeah. Or maybe not even having education.
Yes, to propel us to where we are.
Yeah.
However, it also comes with so much pressure, guys. It comes with so much pressure as a young person who worked and who, number one, you grow up in an environment that's not conducive on its own. I get?
Yes.
Because if we are waiting for a situation to get better, you're not waiting for a situation to get better in Bryanston. You're waiting for a situation to get better in a place that's not equipped with resources, so to speak. So now you get to a point where they are saying to you, you need to shift the socioeconomic background of this family that stems from many years. How am I one person who maybe I'm smart in math. Maybe I wanted to study engineering when I was in matric, and that's what I thought. But now I want to study drama. Now I want to study radio, where they will deduct 25% of your salary and you will have nothing. And I'm supposed to save the family, but this is what I love to do. Is it fair, guys, to have that much pressure on a young person? If you want to do that by any means possible, do it. If you feel that this is something that you wanted to do since you were a kid, I get that, and you can do it. My issue comes when you are not burdened, but you are manipulated and you are forced into it to say, you don't have a choice. This is the only way we're going to come out of this. It's for you to stay focused and study what you're supposed to, which is engineering or whatever that's going to get us quick and easy jobs so that we can get out of this. Is that fair?
I don't think it is. But also understanding where Black people in particular come from in terms of the spirit of Ubuntu. Remember, when you go back, we used to all live together in one government that we were given by the government many years ago, of which those houses we're still fighting for. When you watch trash TV, as they will call it, you'd find them fighting for those Ngitila, It's not fair.
I know too much of this.
It's not fair, but like we had earlier expressed, sometimes, you choice. What else can you do? My problem only comes when people are now just expecting handouts.
You know what I can equate it to when you make an example like this now, about you'd find a situation, you start working, and you imagine you're working there in the city or far, and now you have to think of the idea of, I need to buy a car, but you're still stuck on public transport. You see, your peers probably had the advantage of their parents got them cars and so forth, so they've got that jump compared to you. Now, if you are thinking, as much as you're getting paid, it's not much, but you have to start thinking, I need to buy a car. But at Kaya, there's not even a garage. There's never been a car. So you have to think of these things where it's like, as you're thinking back, like, I must first find a garage or a carport, just so that I can at least accommodate my car, if you're buying a car. So I'm just saying, these are the challenges that people go through, that you are taking care of the family, even in things that you want to do for yourself. Now you still have to think of, how am I going to house what I want? If I want to, now, okay, I can't, I need a room at least. You have to build a back room. So it's instead of even thinking, let me buy my own house. So these are the challenges of, if I go buy in stego 4 ways, it's going to be too much. And then what am I going to give them at home? It's better I must build a back room ekai.
You buy kittens for yourself, you must buy back
for the
home.
family.
You know, there's a study that was done a couple of years ago where they were saying over 60% of white youth, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, of white graduates. So
Yes.
they compared black and white. Over 60% of white graduates are performing better financially compared to black, compared to the black youth. Simply because when they start working, the white young people, when they start working, not all of them, obviously, but over 60% of them, basibheke bona. This is about me. My parents have done so much for me. Thank you very much. Now I can start investing in my own portfolio
Yeah.
of wealth or whatever. But then when, on the other hand,
You
it's
still
not
have
like
to
that.
catch up.
You still have to catch up.
And that's the word I want us to sort of go with, especially if we're going to go white and black. It's a catch-up session.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're talking about white people who have had generational wealth. We're talking about white people, some white people. Have to
Yep.
say that, but here we are. Who have been born with a privilege. And the privilege, I'm not only talking about money. I'm talking about your parents even being educated. So your parents are able to advise you and educate you even on a financial aspect where my parent won't necessarily
do
be
that.
able to. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about mine specifically, but
Just
where my
general.
parents specifically won't be able to because they never got the opportunity to. They never got the resources to, the education to. So that is quite different. Number one, I have to catch up there. Financially, I have to catch up because I might be studying on a NSFAS, which is a loan that I have to pay back.
Yep.
I would have to work odd jobs to be able to pay my tuition, and I'm still behind.
Yeah.
What's the other one? It's NSFAS, it's NSFAS and?
Edu
Can't remember. And those are the ones where even the money and the allowance that you'd get every month, you're sharing it between your family.
Of course.
So that they can be able to eat because they've never been able to eat.
Yeah.
And at the end of your degree, you've got this debt of 3 years that you need to pay back and take care of your family. And then I'm going to sit here and compete with Sepiso, who got her car at 20, and her dad is the one that paid all her tuition. And Khomotso's trying to compete with me, who I can't tell you how much a car is because
Yeah.
that's never been a thing for me
You. Yeah.
as a white person. I in student parking, I had a better car than my
So-and-so.
lecturer,
Yeah, the
example.
lecturers, yeah.
Because I had a G-Wagon, and then Khomotso wants to come out and buy a G-Wagon when she graduates, but you don't know,
You don't know.
how I got it. Because I live and I was born in privilege. And fact is, the majority of people, if you've gone to a university, you know that a majority of university students really aren't as privileged as what Twitter makes it seem.
But at some point, I feel black techs, yes, I understand. You don't have a choice. It needs to stop. With me, I would say it stopped with my grandmother. Because she looked at her situation. She's like, yo, there's 10 of us at home, her siblings. There's 10 of them. They all have kids. They're living in the same house. Hey, as in, the better thing is, let me go find a job. And when I do get a job, let me try by all means to get financially educated to the point that when I need to buy a house, I know what house I afford. I know which area I afford so that I get to take my children out of that place into their own homes, into their own home that I, as a parent, bought for them. So at some point, the circle needs to stop.
Yeah.
Because
But tell me something. Who do you live with now?
I live with my grandmother, but because of the choices that I made. Choices that I made. It's not because of black techs. It was a choice that I made. It was, okay, you know what? This is a career that I'm now trying to pursue, and I'm going to quit whatever it is that I'm doing because I have that freedom from home. Which, I can decide to change and say, I don't want a corporate job anymore.
But you
Nice.
see, that's where now I take it back. It's the conversation that we had of that we are equating black tax to finances, and that's where it lies. You don't feel like there's a sense of black tax from where your grandmother is involved because you're living in her house. And that also in essence means that there is this word keeps coming up in my head and I hate it. Burden. I don't want to use burden. No, obligation.
Okay. Okay.
responsibility,
That I'm
obligation,
obligated
that
or
she
she's
is obligated for you to make sure that you are safe. And she might not be giving you money financially and saying, "Ki ye mo letsogong," but her housing you is a form of black tax. So I've read a book by, my phone's not here, by Nick Mhlong. It's called Black Tax.
Black
Yeah.
Tax,
Ubuntu or a Burden is
Yeah.
what it's titled. And I read this many, many years ago. And he said, we see black tax as a financial thing, which is what we're speaking about now. But he also goes on to say that, okay, so the book basically is it's a culmination and a collection of many stories of people who have
yeah.
experienced,
Black tax, basically.
yeah. So sorry, I'm going to have to cut because I'm going to lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Then he also goes on to say that, so there's someone who's telling their story and says, in this house, in this 4-room house, that the white apartheid government had forced us into, had crammed us into as a family of 5, had raised a teacher, had raised a nurse, had raised an engineer, had raised professionals. And this house was not owned by my mother, it was not owned by my dad, it was owned by my grandmother. But my grandmother was able to bring all these people out. And that is a form of black tax. And he felt like that is a black tax that people don't speak about because all we ever speak about is the financial element of it. And we never speak about the house your grandmother comes from or the house your grandmother owns. How many professionals have come out of that house? They had a safe home to be in. They had a bed. They had food that they might not necessarily have to buy. And they not necessarily had to cook. Why do we not see that as black tax?
That's a point. That's a valid point. But to answer you, I don't see it as black tax because I still take care of me and my children. Ne? And she's very old to be living by herself. So I had to leave my house. It was a choice. She didn't ask me to. It was just me saying, oh, I love my grandmother and my kids would have a balanced home with her, blah, 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 blah. Then I left my house, rented it out to come back home to live with her. For me, it's stability for my kids when I have to go do my gigs and don't. I don't have to worry about bringing in a stranger to take care of the kids. So I don't look at it as black tax.
Is that not an element of black tax for you because you have
No.
moved to make sure that she is okay?
No, she didn't ask me to. She didn't blackmail me into doing it. She didn't say, oh, Wanaka, you have to stop what you're doing and come take care of me. She's perfectly fine.
Does it have to be a blackmailing thing? Can't it be a thing that also comes from you?
A conversation?
Not even a conversation, but also a thing of, I want to give you guys money or I want to come live with you or because health-wise you can't. It's also an obligation of some sort.
Personally, in my case, I didn't even think of it like that because she's perfectly fine. She's perfectly healthy. She can live by herself if she wants to. I can take my kids out of her house if I want to. But everything else, I didn't look at it as black tax because besides us being home and being happy with her, it didn't feel like nyam abuser or uyang abuser financially or emotionally or anything. It's home. It's home. And I'm not saying for people that are feeling like they're being black taxed, they are not home. Home is home at the end of the day. But the moment where she starts feeling like, hey, but then that's a form of black tax because I can't be draining her emotionally. Physically, she has to be running around kids and she's 84 or whatever. That's when it becomes black tax for me. When it now starts feeling like it's an obligation. I have to ngizawuthini. Abantwana bomntwana ngizawuthini. But when it's like she's doing it willingly, there's people that are willingly taking out cash or whatever it is that they're doing for their families. They are willing. No one is forcing you. No one is making you feel bad for doing it. No one is always cussing at you for not doing anything. Then I don't see it as black tax. For me, the only time that it becomes black tax, that's when it starts playing with my mind, my feelings, my pockets. Then
just
when it's
like tax.
Just like tax.
That sounds like tax to me.
Can I throw in another mix to it?
Yeah.
So is it black tax if it's you are younger having to take care of older? When it's the older taking care of the younger, it's like a responsibility. So like you're saying, if we're living at my grandmother's house and she's taking care of us, it's a responsibility.
But for us, it's a
But if
burden.
now and
it becomes black tax. For me, having experience of living in the township and seeing what happens there, it becomes black tax when they're young. When all you're doing is taking from home. We are harmed, we are disappearing, nobody knows where you are, you don't care. For me, that's when it becomes black tax the other way around. Nobody should be taking care of a 31-year-old or 35-year-old still living at home, unless you're getting your life in order. You're saying, okay, angnayo any option, there's a plan, but let me go back home to get myself sorted out. But the moment where it feels like when you're just chilling, you don't care, grant, go, I'm waiting for my 350, angna stress, 350 my figure, you're not even doing anything constructive with it. You're just chowing it away. You're just living. You're not doing anything constructive to get yourself out of that situation. Then for me, it becomes black tax, because at some point, your parents have done more than enough to see to it, ukhulile, right. And also what a lot of young people don't understand, ukhulisa umntwana or a child or whatever, it's not just about the finance.
Yeah.
The education that you're investing in this child, and not schooling. Like the wisdom, the life, the real life shit, like the wisdom. Okay, this is
and guidance.
It's more than just giving them food. There's food for the mind. What are you
so
teaching
also
them?
Situations now where, yes, you are a young professional working, and you have to be taking care of, like, whether it's your family at home, but people who are, let's say you are paying for school fees, or whether you're assisting someone and they're not even serious about their schools. It is
that shit. You cut that. If you are failing and I'm taking my money where I get deducted 25% every fucking month, and we're failure.
And you're not making effort, you understand why you're failing.
Or maybe, okay, but also there are also these situations where, yes, you buy groceries endlini, right? Ekhaya. And then you've got your other sibling or your other whoever abahlale endlini, right? And they refuse to work, but obviously now you cannot say, I'm not going to buy groceries, because now uzolambisa the parents, uzolambisa whoever, who you're trying to take care of. But from the money that you send home, it ends up now being misused or being eaten by someone who doesn't even want to contribute.
Let me tell you something. If I, in my family, had a nyaups boy, a nyaupe boy,
those are
had to
very
be
big situations.
Financially obligated to someone, that's my problem.
And the thing is that those ones, they will even carry out their butler and go sell it.
There's someone I know who, we digress a bit, but Nanda, he's a nyaups, ne? And his mom had to move out of her own house because this boy had taken everything. Do you understand when I say everything? No. Everything to Zinki.
And went to sell.
All they had was Maplanka of where the Zinki used to be. The mother no longer lives there, obviously, because how can she? In her bedroom, in her lounge, there's a makeshift bed.
What's a makeshift bed?
A makeshift bed, like Onalim wailing mola randomly.
Okay.
He ashes on his mother's floor. He ashes what he smokes on his mother's floor. He untite toilet, the toilet seat, which he's proceeding to cook inside.
Okay, that's another level.
Okay. On top of that, he saw clearly I've stripped this house of everything. He thought Mazenke is my next thing. He was ripping everything off because he now needed this next best thing to sell.
So at which point do we, even as parents, see, okay, now I've done enough. Now I've done enough.
At that point, I'm finna put Alpirimi in his face. Don't quote me on this one, but I'm finna, because there's no amount of rehab that has helped him. From here, it's rest in peace, Ngwanokwa, at least that's just me. No, but I'm just speaking from pure sheer ignorance and arrogance, I suppose, in this case, because I don't have anybody who's had a drug issue in my family. And things like that are things that still add to the financial burden of someone, be it the mother, be it the sister, whoever it is, still has to have a financial burden there where they have to pay for the fixing of the house.
Of the house.
My mother, who is displaced, is not in her house.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that my mother is okay.
Is okay.
So I am now having to put things of my house on hold to make sure that my mother is okay, because my brother is setting us back generations behind.
On top of the generations, by virtue of
That
you
has
being
been struggling.
black.
So what do you feel when we talk about the narrative that needs to stop? And it stops with who? You were saying that it stops with your grandmother.
Yeah, it stopped with
stopped
her.
with your grandmother.
It stopped with her. Like, for me, looking at how much she's achieved on her own, there's no way I can relax and say, ukhona mus. I have kids that I brought into this life, and I didn't birth them so they can take care of me. I need to make life easier for them. I need to make sure that by the time they see what's going on, I'm not only financially able to, but even mentally, I'm prepared for it, psychologically and emotionally. Ngiyazi ukuthi these are my children, and I'm obligated to sort of make sure they're fine. The reason, another thing, the reason I mention my grandmother a lot, she's one of the very few people that I've met that have literally set me down and said, get some financial education, get a trust fund, build on what I've already given you. I'm not giving you much, but I've given you enough. Yeah. Work for yourself. Work for the things that you need. Work for the things that you deserve. And remember, now that you have children, it's no longer about you. It's about these kids that you've brought to life. Whatever that you think it's about, forget it. Remember,
Sure.
and you have about 16 years from now to get your shit in order. So it stopped with her saying, Wanaka, get a trust fund. Do you know what a trust fund is? Do you know how it works?
Yeah.
Invest your money. Investing your money, pyramid schemes. For some people, they work, but like build your portfolio.
Yeah.
Get a property. Fix your property. She bought me a car. I'm one of those people that were lucky, if I may say, as a black child. When I was 21, she asked me, what do you want? I want a car. And she got me like a mini Yaris, and I drove around for 5 years, whatever. When I got my own house, I could afford to buy my own car. Now I had 2 cars. I didn't know what to do with the other. It's like, okay, find out what you can do with the other car. I didn't take that money. I took that money and I fixed my house to make my house have more value. Yeah, understand. So those are the things that she taught me. So parents are also obligated to teach. You never stop learning. It's never too late for you to stop learning.
Don't you think that's also unfair to say that it solely lives on our parents? Ideally, this is how we'd like it to be. But remember when we're talking about resources and where our parents grew up and where our parents were raised and how and where they were born. And sometimes that has sort of takes you back a couple of steps back because your parents can only say to you, save. That's the worst advice.
And then sometimes it's just safe to spend.
Yeah, that's the worst
save
advice.
for a rainy day.
Yeah.
My dad's advice to me, his financial education is save. And I can't stand it. Like when I hear him start saying, save, you're not giving me proper financial backing.
You know what my grandmother likes saying to me when I have like a little bit of cash? She's like, Manaka, putting money in the bank is not going to help you. Money depreciates. It depends on how much it's worth, the rand value. So when you can buy what you want now and like build your investment portfolio, it works.
You see,
it works.
Things like that.
But it's because of the financial, she worked in my kitchen. So lucky for her employers were those kind of people that would literally sit her down and be like, Maggie, what are you doing with your money? Bamfundis, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do. Yeah, but the education that she got from it, I will forever be grateful for that. The first time I got a job, I met, the corporates, they give you a buddy, they give you a mentor. So a buddy of mine, when I got to corporate, she's like, Chomi, get a financial planner. I didn't know what that was. So at that time, I wasn't educated enough. Until I was able to be like, no, man, there's something that you're not doing right. If it was patali moto, patali bondi, patali nefsas, and you're left with nothing, there's something that you're not doing right with your money. You probably took a car that you can't afford.
Yes.
On top of that, you have to not necessarily help out at home. And it's now uyathanda. You're like,
Uyathanda,
let me help out at home.
I
Let me. So saba nokusho ukuthi actually
Hakina
Hakinayon, because of the bad financial decisions that you took. You can't buy, well, unless you afford it, you can't buy a house and a car same time.
Roloya net diamond.
One
In
one
one
is
year.
an asset, one is an obligation. I mean, it's a liability. You don't. Another thing with black tax, you don't know what you have to maintain the house, especially as a first-time buyer.
You're just paying example the 8,000.
Yeah,
but you'll find you'll be parting with 12.
You know?
Yeah. You know, those are the little things that I feel like with black tax, if we can all get like some education on how to make your money work for you. You don't have to earn like thousands and thousands and thousands, but find a way to make your money work for you.
And that's why I'm saying to you, I feel like putting the onus of financial education on our parents solely is not fair. And that's why I say on that basis. And I say this because my dad he's got good intentions. Oh, bless his heart. He's got absolutely good intentions. But what he knows is what his dad had taught him. His dad had said to him, I mean, he uses this a lot, and he says his dad said, you know, I'm not the bank. Take your money and put it in the bank. And I cringe. I'm like, you left your money in the bank? and that's your tactic of saving? So you can get 0.0222 of interest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it irks me at the fact that a greater part of my early working years was that kind of education.
You did that.
And I don't blame him because that's the education that he had gotten. And that's what works for him. And that's what had worked for him. But in the same breath, he has done a thing of saving and not spending and the balancing of it.
Oh.
You know, the over saving where he can barely, he doesn't want to buy himself anything because, pardon me, it's a waste or it's not necessary. And so what do you mean? I still want to buy myself stuff, but I also still want to save. And what I would have loved is to have a sit down with my dad where we can open up a spreadsheet and it not be a violent conversation, not be a judgmental conversation where I can take out my pay slip, take out my bank statement, and we try together what is wrong there. But I can't say to you, my dad knows that education. And it's unfair for me to feel that I want my dad or my parent to be the sole educator of my financial backing.
That's why I say, as much as she said, okay, been grateful for her grandmother, Khomoto, I feel like now the buck stops with me. I'm the change.
Yes.
So whatever decisions, sometimes you have to look at what your parents have done. You see whatever the other family members, your relatives have done, and then you decide to do better. There's nothing wrong. Like you see now, you say, it worked for your dad. There's nothing wrong with changing that and saying that, you know what, I'm starting another kind of culture for myself going forward, and this is how I'm going to teach my children. So it's whatever I'm doing for my child. You see, like, this is the things where now it's like, from what they know that they are, when they come into this world, it's they must know something different. It must only be a story if we're telling them about black tax and maybe the hardships or the good part of it that they can carry and also probably do for ourselves as parents when they are older as well. But at the end of the day, it's just about you can change the cycle.
Especially if it's impacting on you positively, because I've met a couple of families where Tepi was the smart one, where they took her to school and then she came back home to help the other ones. But by the time they were done, like maybe 5 years, 6 years later, everyone was able to now afford credit to build wealth. We all took a loan to buy a farm.
Oh, that's
but
nice.
It started with one person.
Oh, that's nice.
When you can come together like that.
If black tax or me going back home to help the others, it impacts on their lives in a positive way that they can come back, then by all means. But if all you're doing is taking,
Give it 25.
You
Give
want
it
the stock fan,
25.
not me.
Give it 25.
Please call you up to 25.
Yeah.
Then you know what time it is. If you get, please call me, get 25. Send Joe. Send. Okay,
Well,
ladies.
time you're 10 rand.
In wrapping up this conversation, how many minutes are we in, sound guy?
42.
Because next thing they're gonna say, "Nchola now."
Or sound guy.
38. Yeah, this is where we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely also share your experiences in the comments. We love, reading your comments, good or bad, and sharing your experiences. I think that for me is my favorite thing, the
Yeah.
sharing of experiences of the very same thing that we're speaking about. In wrapping, ladies, do you feel that black tax will find a replacement word for this one? Do you think that it is a burden or ubuntu?
Ubuntu, if it's impacting all of us in a positive way, and it's black tax when it's draining my energy and my pockets and my emotions, and now I have to hide ukuthi ngiyasave because ngisaba ukuthi uzocabanga ukuthi nginemali, then it's black tax.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you must hide the car that you bought in January ufihla ka skoro because what
Ha, what
already?
great deal.
Okay.
Wabo.
A burden or ubuntu?
It's partly both. Burden, and it's also Ubuntu. And at the end of the day, we are raised to take care of each other as families.
Oh,
So it
beautiful,
is, yeah, it's beautiful. And the thing is, there's a blessing in giving. I believe that. So there's nothing wrong. It never goes to waste when you are giving. And
Not from an empty cup, though.
Not from an empty cup. And yeah.
Literally. That you've both sort of have summed it up for me, and that's how I feel as well. We were raised to be givers.
Yeah.
And we're raised to be sharers. And if we don't, that's a problem. And I also believe in sharing when you have. If you don't, what am I sharing?
Exactly.
That's how we wrap it up. It's been beautiful. A big thank you to Lola and Ben as well for hosting us in this beautiful space with all these prams that are inspiring us to catch her. Inspiring. Ba catch it already, hore ba catch it even more.
We receive.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. It's been an amazing one. This is On the Table.
Bye.